The Against All Odds podcast, sponsored by Oak Forest Recovery.
This is the Against All Odds podcast. I'm Hunter, and I'm here with RJ and Rachel, and we've got one of my best friends here, Danny Shannon.
Danny!
Hey, all the way from Australia.
Hunter, down under.
RJ. What's going
Amazing.
on, guys?
Yeah, so you're from Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, born and bred, mate, Sydney, Australia. I'm a hungry Greek, but actually my dad's Greek, my mum's Hungarian, so I'm a hungry Greek.
Hungry Greek.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like to throw that in. It's got a bit of a ring to it.
How did you and Hunter meet? I don't know if I've heard that.
Me and Hunter met through, obviously through social media. I think I've been following him, and then one day, it's in the morning, Hunter just fucking video calls me, you know, going, what the fuck? And it was gold because I'd reached out and said thank you for something around his content, and next minute I was verified. Like back when you couldn't, he told me how to get verified on Facebook back before you could sort of pay for it, and I was just, oh, this guy's gold, you know. Yeah, so that's how we met. And then
I remember. You had messaged me. I think I was walking with Rio. We were just like on like a morning walk. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking FaceTime this guy.
Yeah, shoot your shot.
You know?
Yeah.
We like bullshitted for a minute, and then I think a couple months later, I like flew over there.
Yeah. And I hooked you up.
Yeah.
Took him around Sydney. Looked after him, you know.
And besties ever since.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
I've
right.
done lots of travel, and I realised, like, it's amazing to have somebody on the other side who will take you around, like a good friend.
Yeah.
So I always value that as much as I can, you know. And he's looked after me big time this time as well, so very grateful for that.
Yeah. At the time, Danny let me. I don't know if you had a driver's license or not, but you let me drive your car. You're like, oh, we got to go around. So I also got to drive like his sick ass car through Sydney.
Oh, hell
It
yeah.
was so dope.
What kind of car?
It's a Golf R. It's like,
Me pretending to know what that is? I don't know.
Volkswagen Golf R. There's only 50 of them made in my colour. In my colour.
Wow.
So it's a
What
nice.
color is it?
It's like it's called Victory Blue. It's like this baby sort of blue. It's hot. It's a really nice.
It was a good time.
Yeah, and it's a weapon too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beast. So what was it like growing up in Sydney? What part of Sydney did you grow up in, and what was life like?
Do you know Cabramatta? Have you ever heard of Cabramatta? Do you guys know Cabramatta?
Huh.
Cabramatta is where the heroin was. There's a show called Once Upon a Time in Cabramatta. It was based around when the Vietnamese community all moved over here in the late 80s into Sydney, I should say, over here. And it just got flooded. So that's where I grew up anyway, Cabra. It's where all the heroin came through as I was growing up as a kid. Funny, that's the thing
The
I bring
best
up,
place
you
to
know.
grow up.
I went to school. I went to primary school in Cabramatta. And then I went to a private school in Fairfield, just around the corner. I got kicked out there in year 8 for slashing the high school, the jumping castle. And then I went to a public school. So I grew up in that area. Like,
Where is that? Where is that in Sydney?
I think we call it West. I call it Western Sydney. It's
Okay.
like 1 hour from like Sydney.
Got it. Okay.
It's still kind of the hood over there, huh? In Western Sydney.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think America's got bigger hoods than we do. We're like so tame compared to. I watch all the American shows, you know, and we are just soft, really, compared to here. Or maybe not the Vietnamese community back there. Cabra was run by some pretty big gangs and stuff, you know. But
You actually drove all the way from LA to New York, right?
Bro,
did a stop at all the NA meetings or
I
something.
did the most incredible trip in 2017 from Los Angeles to Florida. I even went to Jamaica on a cruise and then up to New York. And I followed Narcotics Anonymous the whole way. So what that meant was, like, I had no idea where I was going, you know, but so I was in the hoods all the time, you know, because that's where the meetings are, I believe, you know. I remember being in Baltimore or in Louisiana, just like 50 black fellas in this meeting, and me and my mate Sam, two white fellas walking in. I just go, hey, and they loved me, you know. That was cool. That was a great introduction. But it was just something significant. But yeah, it was a great trip. I think about that trip every day, you know. I'll never forget it.
That's cool.
Wow. Love that. So when did drugs like start for you?
14. I got on the marijuana, the alcohol, and the cream bulbs. You know what cream bulbs are?
No.
Say it again.
Nitric
Cream
oxide.
bulbs.
Cream bulbs. Yeah.
Cream bulbs.
Cream bulbs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what it is, you'll know, it's like, you know, when maybe in the cafes they put cream in a siphon thing and they gas it up.
We're talking about whippets.
Whippets.
Whip
yeah,
it.
We got those-
Cream
He
bulbs.
said cream balls.
Nangs.
Yeah, I
Or
like
nangs.
that.
They call them nangs, I
That's
think.
a way cooler.
But yeah, I got on
Cream bulbs.
the cream bulbs.
Yeah.
Got on alcohol, pot, and the cream bulbs. That was my introduction. to.
How were you doing it? Was it those little canisters and then you would crack them open or like?
Here's a whole can.
Or no, those little canisters and you can smash on the ground and it'll start gassing out and you can fill up a balloon.
Yeah, right.
Or you can just suck it straight out of the thing.
Yeah,
Or you could go fancy and use the actual siphon and just
use a crack.
Which,
Whippets.
that was my introduction. I woke up on this outdoor roller skating ring. It was an abandoned outdoor roller skating ring in Bundaberg, which is up north of Queensland, top of New South Wales. And there was like bodies laying around, broken glass, and that was my introduction. I thought, this is mad, you know. It was a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
it
wait,
wasn't
hold on.
dead bodies.
I was just about to ask.
just unconscious bodies. And I just remember
We're thinking
thinking,
like Outback, Australia, dead bodies everywhere. This dude's got whippets cracking at 14.
Yeah, that was my introduction, and I kind of just went on with it from there. You know, that was like I remember.
So why were you up in Bundaberg?
My mum and my dad had given it one last hurrah. You know, I say that like. So mum and dad had always been on and off. My dad's nickname Shonky. He only just passed away last year. But his nickname was Shonky. My dad taught me everything I shouldn't know, and my beautiful mum taught me all the good things, who I am today, you know. I think I'm a combination of both. And my dad was mad too. Like my dad used to visit me in jail. He used to bring drugs into jail for me. He would bring hidden cigarettes. My dad would do anything for me, but he was my, you know, maybe my negative role model.
Was he an addict as well?
He wasn't.
Oh, he was just down for the fucking, he was with the shit.
He was like, he was always chasing something, but it wasn't drugs or alcohol, gambling. But yeah, he wasn't quite an addict, but he was
just supportive of you.
Yeah, he was a good dad. He was supportive of me. Yeah, that's right. That's
okay. So they were trying to give it one more go. And up there in Bundaberg.
Yeah. So they thought, well, let's give it one more go. We'll move up to Bundy. And what happened was within 2 weeks, my sister as well. I said to my sister, my mum, I said, you guys should just go back to Sydney, you know. Because I was kind of, it's weird how it happened. I manipulated my family. I think kids can do that big time. And I said to mum and my sister, you guys should just go back. I could see that this would be great for me and my dad to live in Bundaberg, you know. I could run a market. My dad always travelled overseas. He was always in Philippines half the year. He's probably got three kids running around Philippines, 3 brothers that I don't know about, you know. So Mum moved back to Sydney, and I stayed up there with my dad. And over the next 6 months, I got kicked out of 3 houses. Every time he'd come back from being overseas, we'd be evicted.
Oh wow!
And then I said, "Listen,
from
Tony,
what? Just
parties,
parties,
you know."
Right.
I remember I fell through one of the walls in one of the houses. I was drunk and carrying on. I got smashed through one of the walls in one of the houses. Big parties, a fish tank. I remember a big fish tank got smashed and was covered across the. Yeah, not very good stuff. And so I said to Tony, I call him, my dad, and I said, you should just go back to Sydney. And so I'm running amok up in Bundy at 14, nearly 15 by that time, by myself, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
I didn't last long. I was only a young fella. I thought I'd be all right. I came back to Sydney and I was introduced to heroin at the age of like almost 16 years old. I had a mate who came to be my best mate, my co-offender. You know, he and I used drugs for a long time after that. But
this was in the 80s or the 90s?
Hang on a second. Of 75. It's like not the early 90s, the beginning of the 90s, you know.
Were you nervous to try it, or were you kind of just like...
I was definitely nervous, Rachel. I remember sitting in a yellow Gemini. Do you know what a Gemini is? It's it's Aussie. I think holding Aussie car anyway. Sitting in this yellow Gemini, hodded up Gemini out the front of this dude's house in Abbotsbury, and we were about to buy heroin for the first time. And I remember thinking, this is a bad idea. Up until that point, I loved the idea of pills, speed, cocaine, trips, magic mushrooms, pot, everything else, but heroin was maybe a little bit off the cards. I'd heard bad things, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is a bad idea, but Brad, my mate, he's keen. Yeah, he's a bit reckless. I mean,
Would you call him? He's what?
he was a bit reckless. Oh, keen.
Oh, he was
Yeah.
keen.
Yeah.
He was
keen,
down.
Yeah, he was down.
Yeah, he was down.
He wanted to get
I
on.
love
for
the Australian language.
Had he done it before
No,
already?
he hadn't,
Okay,
he
so he
hadn't.
was just like, I
He
want to
just-
try heroin today, and I would really appreciate if my
you
friend
came
would
with me.
support me.
Yeah, he wanted me to.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it together. You know?
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
mates.
yeah.
You know, he was my best mate. He used to rob me, and I'd rob him. That was the basis of our friendship a lot of the time. You know, that's what happens. Anyway, we're sitting there, and I remember thinking, this is a bad idea. And I reckon this is the first time I'd really contribute peer pressure to the rest of my 17 years of destruction after that. That was a real bad decision. Next minute, I'm sitting in a little flat in Cabramatta for a drug dealer by the name of Wok, Vietnamese fella. I end up doing a couple of years jail with him later on, which is quite ironic that my drug dealer and I were locked up eventually. I guess that's part of the system too. And I got injected for the first time, heroin. And,
Is that how you did it the first time? You didn't smoke it? Straight to the needle?
actually, no, I had shot straight
That's how I
up.
did it the first time I did it too.
And I'll tell you a crazy little story. I moved to Fiji at one point. I opened up a clothes shop in Fiji, right? It was called Land of Oz. I was in this little town in Fiji, and I took heroin there with me. And my uncle, I got a Fijian uncle, long story, but he'd heard about heroin. I give him a shot too, which is terrible. I know I shouldn't even be saying that out loud. But he was sitting on a milk crate all day, just sweating and vomiting all day. But that's what heroin did to me too.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. That's for some reason.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to heroin, and I never missed a day for the next 17
After
years.
that, so
and
you
that
were
was
like,
it.
okay,
That
this
was
is it.
This is my
Yeah,
drug.
I found it.
And look, I want to say too, I'm very fortunate to not come from a violent like a violent childhood. When I first entered recovery, like the 12-step fellowship as well, like I compared myself to a lot of people, their stories, and I didn't know if I fitted in, but what I do know is the day I picked up heroin, I never stopped. I became like this animal overnight. I started robbing anyone I could get. I had the obsession and compulsion to get and use more drugs at any cost.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. It's incredible where it takes us.
Yeah. I was desperate to, I don't know what it was. I wasn't really hiding or filling a void, but when I had heroin, I felt like
You
I
could do anything. Yeah.
sure.
When did you start to experience consequences from the
6 weeks later.
Well, no, I mean from the crime though that you were committing to get high.
I was locked up at 16 in boys' homes, like in juvenile detention. Yeah. Not for long. It was like
How did that happen though?
32 days. So by that time, I'd accumulated a bunch of warrants. So what would happen is you jump the train or you jump the bus like you wouldn't pay, and then you get done and they book you and you get $100 fine. Let's just say it's $100. Every time you do that, and I wouldn't turn up at court, I wouldn't pay it, it'd turn into a warrant. And then every warrant, every $100 that you owed, you'd get locked up for a day. So my first time I got locked up in juvenile detention, I had $3,200 worth of warrants for 32 days.
Okay.
And yeah, it was like a scary introduction to, prison.
And were you strung out when they took you in?
Yeah.
Did you detox?
I was. That was my first experience of heroin withdrawal.
Right.
Do you know the first time, it's almost free the first time. You don't know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then after that
you're
first
just
time, you're
thinking,
like, never again.
No.
I'm never going to let that happen again.
That's right. So the first time I didn't really know. I had so much sort of fear. I also thought I was cool being locked up too. Delusional,
Yeah.
So the consequences happened pretty much 6 weeks later.
Yeah, what happened at 6 weeks? So 6 weeks was when you went to this.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
That was the first time I hung out. I just remember it was about 6 weeks. Who knows? Like, it's a long time ago. You know, when you start telling your story, you start to, I guess you make estimates. That's the story.
Yeah.
6 weeks after I started using heroin, I got caught out as well, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so you get out of there and then you go right back to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Always would go right back to it. But this time too, you know, I'd started hurting my family, losing my sister's trust, my mum's trust, my dad's trust even. My dad never complained once, but my mum, when I say complained, like he never cared almost, I guess, you know. But my mum and my sister started to experience what I was about to put them through for the next 17 years. You know?
Was it like China White? Is that the kind of heroin it was?
Yeah, I guess.
Like it was powdered heroin.
Rock, nah, it's rock. It was,
but it was made of powder though. Like if you crushed it.
Yeah, it's very different. Like I know, like I watch Cops and all that stuff. The American show. Like I hear about this black tar heroin. I never had that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had rock heroin.
Yeah, right.
Before.
Well, there was one that you had to mix with lemon, with alkali, and that was good shit. That was the good stuff. If you had to mix lemon with it to make a mix, it was good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you break it down?
I remember it was alkaline based. That's what they used to say, and you had to. It would not break. It wouldn't mix up without a drop of lemon.
Interesting. Wow.
Alkaline.
That was good. Yeah, alkaline heroin.
Yeah.
The fancy stuff. The good stuff.
Did you ever overdose?
Look, I was very, very reckless. So for someone who had a pretty good childhood and that, I was absolutely reckless. Like I started overdosing, I don't know when, but I've had many, many overdoses, mate. I've had broken ribs from the paramedics giving me CPR. And then also knowing, like, for months later, like you'd be nursing these broken ribs and you'd have these vivid memories of what would happen. And the reason I'm still alive is I'd overdose. I'd have the shot and I'd know I was going to drop. Like I'd become really, you get this certain taste, this certain heavy feeling. And I'd know if I don't get out of this bathroom right now or out of this set of flats, I'm going to be dead, you know? And I'd always get found just blessed. So yeah, overdose many times. Yeah.
Lucky to be alive.
Yeah, very, very lucky. Like, and I've got an incredible life today too.
Yeah.
So I am lucky to be alive. Absolutely.
So was most of your using in Sydney?
Yeah, it was. Look, I definitely I used to go to Philippines occasionally too because my dad owned stuff over there. So I got on my heroin use for 6 years was in Sydney, and then I was on this good raw. I probably don't want to say too much about this, but I had lots of money and I started traveling overseas and I was using what they called shabu in Philippines, which was meth. It's when it first came out. They used to call it shabu. Did they call it that here?
There's all
I
the
know.
shabs.
The shabs.
names
You
for
know?
it.
The shabs.
Yeah, shabs.
I love that. I love learning new
The
terminology.
culture,
Like
the drug culture.
What is it in Thailand? Yaba? Was it the same as that?
Yeah, same shit.
Yeah.
Shabu, shabs,
Shabu.
ice rock. But yeah, anyway,
So how were you making money? Were you selling drugs?
No, I wasn't selling drugs. I could never sell drugs. I tried.
use them all.
I just could never sell them. I would just use it. I know that. Yeah, like I obviously didn't have enough.
You had some hustles though.
Oh yeah, I had some hustles. Yeah, yeah, like all right. So a lot of I used to find my drug through stealing cars, breaking into factories. My dad used to put in orders for stolen equipment, so my dad would want something. My dad was my fence for a long time. You know, he'd put in an order, computers usually, and we'd go and sell them, steal them, and give them to him, and he'd buy them. But yeah, there was. I'll just say drug related crimes. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's some things I didn't get caught for, so I can't say too much.
No, I
can't say too much.
Sensing that, eh? But look, but there was lots. But it was just all drug petty crimes, man. I never did any longer than 18 months in the jail, in one jail sentence. I spent 7 years in prison, but it was all just for shit, man. I was just a garden variety heroin
What did you
addict.
get caught for?
Breaking in his high-speed police pursuits, stolen cars. That's pretty much it, man.
What's the prison
Stealing.
system?
I was just about to ask that.
What's the prison system like in Australia?
I think it's a lot nicer than ours, what I've
think
heard.
so
It's
too,
a lot more chill.
Look,
Walk us through that.
I'll walk you through my introduction to probably one of the oldest prisons, I think, Parramatta Prison.
In Sydney.
At 18 years old, yep, just basically on my 18th birthday. I always say it was the 18th birthday. Locked up in Parramatta Jail. I got bashed. So what happened was I got off the truck, that was me. I got off the truck, the prison truck, probably the same. But our prison trucks are made up, it's like a big sort of truck. They're made up into probably 6 or 7 cells on a truck.
Okay.
Usually at the back there's 2 people in one cell. In the middle there's maybe 6 people. Anyway, got off the truck, went through reception, which is just a big outdoor cell. With
processing.
Processing, yeah. I got to the end, there's 3 big cells. The first one, you come in off the truck, then you go in through reception, they had strip search, you do all that stuff, then you go into the next cell, then you're ready to go out to the jail. I got given a couple of cigarettes by one of the boys that come in straight off the truck, and I'd already been to the next cell. And I didn't know, I didn't. I thought I'm mad. He wanted me to hold his cigarettes. I got that. Someone else said, give us a smoke. I said, yes, we're here. And I had one because I needed a light. And anyway, that was a bad decision. The next morning, he come looking for his cigarettes. And that was my first introduction to violence in jail,
Oh, wow. So he gave them to you to hold on to
Yeah,
for him.
yeah, of course, just so he could get through the cells. But then I'd been taken off before he'd got processed, and I'd smoked his cigarettes.
Oh, no.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
But look, I was only, it was all right. It was all right.
Have you ever escaped from a prison?
In 2001, I escaped from prison. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you get arrested for in 2001?
It was just another one of my.
Burglary
I was doing 12 months, I think, of breaking and steal. Every single charge, every time I get locked up, it always involved a high-speed police pursuit. It always involved charges from breaking and always a whole bunch of unlicensed shitty little charges. But
how did you break out of jail? I need to hear this whole story.
So on
how did you do
6th of February 2001, I did scale a 24-foot barrel fence. I was attending this religious event. I used to turn up there because they had made coffee and biscuits. And at the end of the event, everyone was
inside the prison?
Inside the prison, yeah. It's like at the end of the event, they would sit around holding hands and I managed to duck out the back. Now, it was my partner's birthday. It was the 6th of February. I remember calling her up. I said, listen, if I could come home, she had money of mine. I was just itching to get to the money. I was worried she was going to spend my money,
How long had you been in for?
9 months.
Oh my God. So you're near the end.
Yeah, idiot. Like, dead set. I had less than 3 months to go, right? But she's got a bunch of my cash outside. I'm stressing. It's her birthday and I seen an opportunity. I wanted to get on,
Yeah.
Were you planning it at all, or just ate a rose?
I had planned it for like a day.
Yeah.
But
you saw a weak spot.
Bro, I had actually tried to escape 2 other times from this jail. I
never got caught.
No, I never got caught for
So you kind of learned through the process. You're like, okay, this is where it's not working, and this is where it's working, and I need to scale a 24-foot wall. That's what you said?
Yeah, one part of the jail, I had a hacksaw blade. I was working in the metal shop. I was down the back. If I would have got caught trying to cut the fence, which is the dumbest thing, it's galvanized steel. Nothing was happening. But if I would have got caught for that, I would have got what we call an E-classo, which is what I've got now because of escapee, But anyway, I did manage to. I used these old garbage bin handles off these round bins. It was in the newspaper. I always like to, but I managed to scale the fence like kind of like Spider-Man,
Yeah, that's what I hope. That's the first thing I imagined. Honestly,
there was one bit of this jail that I'd walked around so many times, obviously in the jail, and I've seen this spot in this jail. And there's big barrels, right? So it's impossible to get over the barrel. You can't climb up the fence and get over the barrel. Yeah.
Okay.
But there was
With
one
the
spot.
razor
like-
wire, though,
Yeah,
right?
razor wire too.
Okay,
yeah.
barbed wire. Okay.
Yeah, there was one spot in the jail where that barrel lent, 2 barrels met, so one of them had to face the other way. And anyway, that's the spot I climbed up, and I managed. I don't know how I did it. To be honest, it seems like impossible. But I weighed 65 kilos, and I wasn't. I mean, I'd been in jail for some time, but I was just a little fella, and I managed to get up on top of that barrel. When I was on top of the barrel, I remember looking down, thinking, if I fall, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
But I'm up there, right? The adrenaline's rushing. It's dark. It's dark.
So no one saw you on the way up.
Not yet,
Okay.
but I'm still like 100 meters to the.
And when you said you had handles, what are you talking about?
So you say the big garbage bin, say big say garbage
Like the handles
bins
on the
that.
side of it.
No, I get it. I
So
want
you
to
pull
paint a
them
picture
out.
for the audience.
So
I'm
they're
just-
like
you know
claws.
what I mean?
They're
It's
like claws. They got like a little piece of metal that it's got a hook like that.
Okay.
And it's like a. You just sort of like hook your way up, like
God,
almost like
So you took these off the garbage.
Like rock climbing.
you like
Yeah.
rock climbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on top of the barrel.
And what were you hooking into? Is it brick? Or is it wood?
No. Sorry, it's steel.
wood?
It's got all these little
Grooves.
like grooves.
Okay.
wires.
Thank God.
Okay. And that's what you're hooking into. So you got
Okay.
these grooves. You're climbing.
How did I do it? I don't know how I did it.
Yeah, it's all upper body though.
Yeah,
Like,
I
no
guess so.
feet, you're just like straight.
That's
It's
determination,
adrenaline.
and the determination to
yeah,
get
yeah.
high. He's thinking about his girl who has all his money, and he's trying to get
Yes.
to it. That will
Yeah.
make you do some things.
It's adrenaline, like adrenaline.
Yeah.
Is
And
rushing.
now, are there like guard towers out there too?
Yeah,
and like
there
the whole
is.
thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm thinking Shawshank Redemption.
Sure,
you know what I
nah.
mean?
Look,
Like-
it's not it's not that serious. You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
might I'll give a shout out to my mate John Killick. He escaped from the prison in the helicopter, like infamous.
What?
Yeah, he's like.
Hold on, wait. Let's tell that story after.
yeah, let's
I shouldn't tell his story anyway, right? But John's,
I need to
John's
hear
one
it.
of my mates. He's an absolute. Anyway, I get up on top of the fence, right? So look,
barbed wire on the top.
razor wire, yeah.
So like straight razors instead of barbs.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah,
know
So
what I
then,
mean?
no, I know. And then
Yeah.
how'd you get over that?
So I'm on top of the barrel now, right? There's still like 100 meters to the perimeter. I'm still in the middle of the jail. I start creeping along, right? Keep in mind, I'm in the visiting area at this religious event because I've been given special privileges.
because you've
It's
been
been
good.
good.
Because I've been on my best behaviour. Yeah? So it's nighttime too. So then I'm probably not that visible. I say Mr. Singh, right? One of the prison officers just happened to be Mr. Singh. He had the turban, like, I don't know if it's appropriate to say that, but fucking Mr. Singh, there was lots of them. And he spotted me up on top of that fence, right? And I just remember thinking, like, he got straight on the radio and he's called the squad, which is our MEU, the Metropolitan Enforcement Units, our jail squad outside. They would have called the police. The helicopter was called. The water police was called, well, because I was going to swim down Parramatta River. Anyway, I've run from the top of this barrel through razor wire, cut my legs to pieces. Like somehow I'm skipping through the wire.
Yeah.
Like, and then I've jumped off the top of this fence and I've landed on my
26
arm.
feet up.
24 foot. I landed on my arm. My arm was black from my shoulder to my wrist. It was just like, I think it bent outwards, right? But no
So
effect.
not on your feet. I mean, you just like.
No, so the bottom of, say the barrel was up here. The bottom of the hill, it actually was on a slant. So it was in my favour. So it was
Yeah, that's what I
nice.
was
It was
saying,
like,
yeah, so you just-
so I've just sort of landed, rolled, like, and then I've run down towards Parramatta River. Now, Parramatta River's got bull sharks, big fucking sharks in it,
no.
right? Now, this was always my
Yeah,
plan,
let's-
but this was always my plan. I was never I was always planning to swim across Parramatta River, which is insane in itself.
Yeah.
With
I
the
don't think I
sharks.
ever thought I'd get out to that point. I'm running down towards Parramatta River. The squad is up the top of the street. I can see the spotlights. I can hear the dogs barking. I'm running like a motherfucker, just running down the street. I've bounced a couple of fences, and the dogs and all that had met me by that time. I've got one arm, so I'm jumping fences with one arm as well. And anyway, I dive into the river. It's pitch dark,
And
bro.
there was a shark.
It's pitch dark. The adrenaline is just pumping like
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
imagine.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I've literally got the squad. The squad are like, you don't want to fuck with the squad.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
They're the beasts of the jail. I'm swimming across Parramatta River.
With your
pitch
legs
black.
cut to shreds.
Blood
One
coming
arm,
out of my legs.
one arm with sharks.
With one, yeah, so I'm like lift one, drag one, like trying to swim across the river. It's pitch dark. It feels like a long way across. And the water police are charging up the river. I know this from the police report. The police helicopters up there with the big spotlight too. I make it to the other side of the riverbank where I was then in mud up to my neck, right? So the other side of the river was just this big, thick sludge. And I was up to my neck in mud, and literally the water police were just 20 metres away from the spotlight, and they couldn't see me. I was like G.I. Joe in the fucking shrubs.
Or Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator.
Yeah, in the shrubs, yeah, like...
You can't see him.
And, man, I clawed my way through this mud. Imagine being in quicksand. I think it was like, I thought I was going to sink, yeah?
That's scary.
That's really scary.
That's
So
really
what,
scary.
you just held out here?
Man, I clawed my way like through
With
this
one
mud
arm.
for like say 200 meters or I don't know how far, and I got away. Man, they shut down Parramatta River further down the water police, but I took, and I know this from the police report, I took this little offshoot called Duck Creek, and I got away. I came up on Parramatta Speedway, which is an old demolition derby. Do you know demolition derby?
Yeah.
It's like where they smash cars into each other.
Like monster trucks?
Yeah,
Like, okay.
I came out on this old demolition derby sort of graveyard before these smashed up cars. It was raining. Right? I'm in jail greens, and the rain, it's like the rain washed away my sins. Like all the mud's getting washed away from. By the time I come up on Parramatta Road, which is a big highway, I've crossed that road. I'm trying to steal a car, and a taxi pulls up beside me and says, "Do you want a lift?" You know? And I've got cash. I've rang Michelle already. She got the phone call. This is the phone call from the Silver Order Remand receptionist. And if you do not wish to take this call, please hang up now. That's the message. And I said, listen, you need to have some money ready. And sure enough, I pull up at the front of the house. I whistle out to her. She comes out, shocked. She did not think I was coming home, you know. When I asked her, is it okay if I come home tonight? She would have just rolled her eyes thinking, sure, Danny, you know. Yeah. Then like 20 minutes later, her house, my mum's house, my dad's house, everyone in my family's houses was raided by the squads as well. And mate, I got away. I made it to Western Australia.
Wow.
But you know, I got caught on Valentine's Day 7 days later. And I always say my business got done too for harbouring a criminal. And I always say what a romantic story it was, you know, getting caught on Valentine's Day.
How'd you guys get caught?
Well, you were with your girl?
Yeah.
Well, I picked her up. Yeah,
So you and her both take off together.
Yeah.
Where'd you
True
go,
love
Perth?
story.
Yeah, Perth.
Yeah, romantic.
Perth,
You guys
right?
Yeah,
go to Perth driving?
No, we couldn't play. No. Yeah, so I met up this dude called Walk, right? Walk in Liverpool.
Oh,
He
Walk.
made me-
Okay, we know Walk.
Another
Yeah.
Walk. No, another
Oh, a
Walk.
different one.
Yeah, this is
Oh
a
my
white
gosh.
guy Walk. There's Vietnamese Walk and there's Walk Eye. This guy's got a Walk Eye. That's why I call him Walk.
Okay.
He'll love that he gets a shout out here. He made me up some fake IDs, and then we booked a plane to Perth the next day. And yeah, flew to Perth.
And how'd they catch you in Perth?
So she's on methadone, my missus, bless her. So
she
was
runs
I,
out.
by the way. I didn't tell you. I was on 120 mils of methadone in jail. Dickhead escaping on 120 mils.
Oh,
of
they give you methadone in jail.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's another type of prison.
In
Yeah.
New South
Prison
Wales, they
within
do.
prison.
Yeah.
In Queensland, they don't give it to you. Anyway, she tried to get on the methadone program over there, and the cops from Sydney, New South Wales had got alerts. Next minute,
Because she had to use her name to try
Yeah,
to get in
yeah,
there,
yeah, that's
work the
right.
system. And
but I thought we'd be okay because they say warrants don't carry interstate.
yeah.
And they don't. But New South Wales coppers were really happy to come pick us up from.
Well, you're an
Perth.
escapee. I mean, that's like a different type of thing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I mean, that makes them look
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah. So they came and got me. They kicked in the hotel room, say 5 a.m. Because I had cash, so we're living it up. I was buying these syringes of home-baked heroin. So in Perth, there was
Home baked?
Okay, so
Betty
in,
Crocker style?
In Perth,
or what?
there's no heroin.
I'm like,
Home baked? Okay, wait. What does that mean?
So this is what I mean. So there was no heroin. I get to Perth and I couldn't buy heroin anywhere. But then I found these people selling this hillbilly heroin called home bake. And what it was is it was like you could buy these 1 mil fits full of this orange heroin. And they'd cook it up somehow from codeine or something. And I purchased like 30 of those syringes
It did the job.
and I just kept using them until the coppers kicked the door in. It dragged me out naked beside the pool and bashed me, stomped on me because I was resisting
pissed.
arrest. Yeah, they weren't happy.
Yeah.
And anyway, I remember being on the plane coming back. With me and my missus, she was sitting beside me. It was still romantic, right? We're handcuffed.
On Valentine's Day.
Yeah, on Valentine's Day. Copper on this side of me, copper on that side of me. We're at the back of the plane, and they're saying to me, "You fucking play up, we're going to throw you in the cargo hole," you know? And I just remember hanging out. I was hanging out so fucking bad. I was in bad heroin withdrawal. And I remember the air stewardesses giving out food, and they had ice cream, these Dixie cup ice creams. I said, I need another one of those. You know, hanging out, you need sugar.
Yeah.
They gave me another one. I thought this copper's all right. And then when we got to back to Bankstown Police Station in Sydney, they let me and my partner sleep in the same cell that night, and then I didn't see her for a while.
Wow.
Really romantic.
Yeah.
So what did she get? Did she get in trouble for this?
No, she ended up, she wasn't in any fault really. But she got done for harbouring, which I don't know what she got, to be honest. Yeah. And yeah, the story goes on. Look, it's an incredible story. I don't want to, I'll feel you. I literally got sentenced to 21 days for the escape. I know.
Stop.
So it was literally worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah, I would say.
It was worth
I would say.
escaping. Yeah, so, all right. I did escape another guy too. I don't often mention him, Pat. So me and him, so I've skipped him, but he gets a message to me. I'll quickly tell you this. I'm in Goldsmith 12, which is up the other end of the prison. He's down in 4-6, and I get a message from one of the sweepers, which is an inmate that can move around. He says, Pat says we're pleading not guilty. Okay, what the fuck is he talking about? We're pleading not guilty. And anyway, we went on with this trial. We went through this story, and I ended up getting 21 days. I basically pled not guilty to escaping.
Wow.
Which was a dumb thing. You can't plead not guilty to escaping. But we had a mad story behind us. And I got 21 days, and then he got 21 days because there's this thing called parity sentencing. So whatever your co-offender gets, you have to get the sentence as well. Yeah, so I did escape.
Worth
To
it.
answer your question, I did escape. There you
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow, that's a great story. Wow.
go. Yeah. Man, that was early in my day. That was
And you're
2001.
21. You were 21 at the time.
No, I'm 26, I think.
Okay,
I'm
26.
26 by then. I got clean. I got off the drugs at 34 eventually. I was on the methadone for 13 years. You know, do you know an insane thing? I escaped on the methadone, right? So by the time I got back to prison, and I hung out really, really, really bad in prison when I got back. But 4 weeks later,
When you say
Hung out
Hung
is like
out.
withdrawal, right?
Yeah,
Detoxing.
withdrawal, yeah.
Okay.
the Australian.
yeah, what do you
I
call
love
it?
the lingo. I feel like I'm already catching
We call
on
it-
where I'm
I wanna
like
bring it
getting
up.
it, you know? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's
hang
watching.
out.
Hanging out.
Hanging
Yeah.
out.
What do you
Yeah.
call it?
Dope sick.
Yeah,
Dope
dope
sick.
sick, withdrawal.
Yeah, I was
Detox,
dope
yeah.
sick. Yeah, I was dope sick for 5 or 6 weeks. I did not sleep a week, you know. And then listen to this. This is the
They didn't
addictive
give you
thing.
methadone when you got
No,
back?
no,
Why? Because they were
fuck
like,
no.
no, fuck this guy.
Well, what happens is if you miss
We're gonna make you suffer.
if you miss 3 days of your dome wherever you are, you are automatically kicked off because methadone is prescribed by the government. Yeah,
right.
And once you're off it, yeah, it's not easy to get back on. There's almost like places you got to. It's almost like
Yeah,
And
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
no,
All
fuck
sorts
no.
of
They're not,
rules.
yeah, they're not going to give me methadone. Then 6 weeks later, after being dope sick for 6 weeks later, there's a HIV scare in the wing. And
A what?
a
HIV.
HIV scare.
Oh,
so
HIV,
there's
okay.
dirty needles going
Yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah.
So they offer him methadone, and sure enough, this dickhead puts his hand up and says, "Yeah, give me my dose." And then I got stuck on it again for another. But yeah, because anytime you're in jail, if you can get methadone,
Right, you're getting it.
bonus.
I
Fucking
mean,
do
you're
it.
getting,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a no-brainer.
And then once you got it back, you were loaded.
Yeah, then I was back up to 120 mils before you know it.
God damn. How long were you on methadone for?
13 years.
13
Yeah.
years.
But a couple of little stints off it, like
Yeah.
Would
Like
you
that
recommend? Would you recommend to other people to get on methadone?
Yeah, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, sure. Well, I reckon it kept me alive, man. I reckon I'd be dead if it wasn't for the methadone, 100%. I did, they said to me when I got the methadone, Danny, you're gonna have a better quality of life. You're gonna get, you're gonna taper off it. Well, they said in 6 months that would happen. 13 years later, I did stop using heroin. Eventually, it took me 6 years to get through my thick head that heroin wasn't working anymore. So then I found meth, Shabu. So then I just got on that.
Shabu.
Yeah, the shabs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shabs.
What was that like using that in the Philippines?
Oh, bro. Using Shabu in the Philippines, I just remember walking down through these villages because I was going to some risky places in Philippines. I just remember these guys with machetes, like tapping the machete on the wall.
Oh, God.
And me by it was hectic, man.
I bet.
Yeah, it was. It blew your head off. You know?
Was it cheap?
Yeah, very cheap.
Dirt cheap.
Yeah. Well, I had money anyway, so.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so then what happened from there? So you escape from jail, you're on the methadone, back on the methadone, and then what happens after that?
It's still early days, Rachel. Like, a lot more happened. You know?
Yeah.
I was a desperate fucking junkie, you know. I would use and abuse anyone or anything I could to change the way I feel, you know. There was never, ever enough for me. I spent many more years in prison. I fell out of a third-story window of a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. I literally climbed out with sheets out the third-story window.
Trying to escape again.
Well, I got out, all right? I went to
sheets?
yeah, we tied up.
tied the knots in them and...
I am a fucking nut job. but I'm on the third story of this rehab in Surrey Hills in the middle of the city. Everyone in my wing wants to get on. I'm going, I'll go. I'll fucking go. Give me the money. And then we tied up 3 lots of sheets and they lowered me down the building.
Like in the movies.
Yeah, like,
so good.
Like Rapunzel almost.
Yeah.
I went to Cabramatta, which is an hour away. I got smashed. I got bashed by the bouncers. I got caught using in the toilets that night. So I finally make it back to the rehab at like 5 a.m. in the morning. Everyone's gone to bed. They've given up on Danny. He's ripped them off. I'm chucking rocks at the windows. Someone comes out to me. They lower the sheets down. I'm smashed. I'm stoned. They pull me right up, and I feel like I think I got to like the last bit where I put my hand out to grab on, and this arm slipped. I came down the first-story window. I hit the windowsill and I flung out, cleared the whole bankment, and just hit the deck on the other side of the road.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I cut my Achilles tendon in half on another little thing. I sprung up my leg during a break and enter. I got caught for that, so I can talk about that one.
Did that sober you up that fall or what?
The fall, mate, I had needles in my sock, right? And when the ambulance come, you're not going to believe this. The ambulance, I warned them. I said, there's needles in my sock, right? They got me to the hospital. They kicked me out of hospital. They said they thought I was just some homeless bum who was trying to fucking get a free night in hospital. And they kicked me out of hospital. But they reckon because I was so stoned that my body was so super relaxed that I did damage, but
Yeah,
right.
but you were.
Yeah.
I've had friends that have gotten in like near death experiences, and them being so relaxed from being on heroin, like car accidents and shit, where they were just like this instead of tensed up. It literally saved their lives.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. That's crazy.
wild.
But yeah, that's how. So to answer your question, like it was just a lot of mess. You know, I was just a fucking desperate addict doing anything I could to change the way I feel. You know, I hate that. You know, I hate that I hurt loved ones for sure.
And now you have kids, right?
I've got.
When did the children's, is that way down the line or?
No. My boy was born in 2001.
Okay.
He was. I remember having this conversation with his mum, and my mum. I bless my mum. She was pregnant, and I remember saying to her, "When the baby's born, I'm gonna stop using drugs." You know,
because it really feels like that.
Yeah, it's like
your brain will.
You think that'll be enough to stop me, and I didn't stop. You know? It's really, really, really fucked up and really sad. But my mum got custody of my boy. Thank God, my mum got him. And he spent the first half of his life visiting me in jails and institutions. And yeah, I've got a beautiful 7-year-old daughter now too. But yeah, so that's kind of the mess of my story, you know. I would do anything to
get But you guys are super close today.
Me and my boy, yeah. Me and my boy, look, when you do so much damage, he doesn't he forgives me, I think, but it's still it's not like my daughter was born in recovery, you know, she's 7. The relationship that we have compared to the relationship me and my boy have. And, you know, he's a boy too, she's a girl. But we speak daily, me and my boy, you know. He loves taking my car for a rap. Like, he's always got that over me, you know. Come on, Dad, I want the car.
And he sends you videos of him flexing.
Yeah, you see that too. Yeah, my boy loves the gym too. And he's fit too. Like, he's a machine. So
For him.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when did you get clean? How'd that happen?
I haven't touched on the rehabilitation centers. At the age of 18, I started going to detox and rehab, you know, because I had this mum who was always on my back saying, you know.
Trying to get you sober.
Yeah, trying to get me clean. So I started trying back, you know, like in, I don't know, 19, whatever it was. And by the time I finally got clean in 2009, I'd done like 49 detoxes and rehabs. I've been to every single public system in Sydney, you know. I was known on a first name basis at Gorman House, Wisteria Lodge, Basement 82, all these different
What was treatment like in Australia back then?
Man, I get, like, one thing I learned about America is we're very, very, very blessed, you know, there, I think, anyway, you know. It was good. It's where I'd get fed. I'd get fed going to rehab and to detox. You'd have to jump for a few hoops to get there for sure, you know. You'd have to call up a few times, and it's hard to do that when you're in full-blown addiction.
Right. Yeah. To get into the public system once.
Yeah. So, private is completely different ball game. But most of the people I know are clean through the public system, you know?
Yeah. And so did you get clean finally going to one of those centers?
Yeah, I did.
And what was that like?
Yeah.
Walk us through
So in my last time around, my 50th attempt, I often say, you know, 49, 50 attempts, I went to Herbert Street Clinic. I took heroin into detox with me. I'd finally gotten off the methadone by this time. I went in there. I used heroin for a couple of days. By the time I'm meant to be getting out, I'm starting to hang out from heroin when you should have been starting to come good, as you do going into detox. And there was a book with all these rehabs that you could call a resources book. And I remember I called up this place and they said, we'll take you. So I went into that rehab. It was a 28-day program.
How old were you at the time?
33.
33.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 34.
Yeah. And did you mean it this time? Whereas opposed to maybe the last times you didn't? Or
Nah,
nothing different?
Nah, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Nah. Yeah. When you're stuck in that, I mean, I always had this fantasy, this nice thought it'd be nice to get off drugs. But I thought it's good for you. Like, you know, he could do it or you could do it, but I can't do that.
You didn't think you were.
I didn't think it.
I was the same
I had
way.
hope, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I had this slimmer.
But so why were you there?
Probably to avoid charges, because I was hungry, because I wanted a rest.
Okay.
I was using a lot of meth too, so it's like I need a few days break, a sleep. I just needed to sleep in peace, you know. Yeah, basically.
Got it.
I got into that program. It was called Foundation House. It went for 28 days. I had my mobile phone on me. I was doing this tax rort. I was still a criminal.
Yeah.
Then I went on to this other place called Glebe House, which, you know, those two rehabs, the 28-day program, then the 3-month program, changed my life, you know. My biggest turning point from what we were saying about me not thinking I could do it was Christmas Day 2009. I went home for a family lunch or for Christmas.
Like a visit.
Yeah. I didn't want to go because I was so full of shame and guilt.
Right.
And on that day, the family gave me cash, of course, like a big mistake. And on my way back, I was standing at Town Hall in the city, and to my right was King's Cross. Do you know King's Cross?
I've been to King's Cross.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So I know I can buy heroin and cocaine up there, and I thought I'm going to do it, you know. Fuck this, I can't do this anymore. The shame of sitting around the family Christmas table with 15 loved ones I'd hurt, stolen, robbed every single one of them, you know. It was just heavy, this heavy burden. I thought, this is fucked, you know, I can't do this. And So I got to this turning point. I'm standing there at Town Hall Station. King's Cross is to my right, but I thought across the road was the bus was going to take me back to rehab. You know, I was in rehab. So you know what? If I go up the cross, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get stoned. I'll probably end up dead, back in jail, back in rehab. But I didn't know what would happen if I got on that bus across the road. And that day I made a different decision, mate. I changed my mind. I'd never, ever changed my mind.
Was that a hard decision to make?
Well, I don't know how I did it. Thank God I did. But I did a little bit of consequential thinking. I thought, well, I know what's going to happen if I go up there.
Yeah.
But what happens if I don't?
Right.
And bro, a miracle happened that day. I never, ever come close to picking up again. That was Christmas just gone was 15 years ago now. So, yeah, like I lost the obsession and compulsion to use that day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And all I did was I changed my mind.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that's all I did. I've worked really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was also how many years of like suffering and just the guilt and the shame and the trail of destruction, and you know, it takes what it takes. It's like you reached your full measure, and at that point, I also feel like so much of the recovery process, like it comes in these miraculous moments that can't be predicted or made. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally
You can't
agree.
manufacture them.
Nah. Although I'd love to know, and I liked thinking about that. Like, what was it that I did? Like, how did I change my mind? I'd love to be able to give that to other people.
Yeah.
Right.
And if I can say anything on that is, I didn't know you could change your mind. That's where I think it is. You know, like I had never gone to get on and then go, oh, I'm not going to get on. You know, like maybe maybe my life's more important. But that day, I thought about, consequential thinking. It sounds like a stupid idea when you're in addiction, but I did that.
Right.
And then you turned around and worked at that, because I've heard the name of that place, Glebe House.
Yeah.
You worked there for a long time.
I worked there for 10 years, man.
Wow.
So I completed the program. I went on to halfway houses. I started working. I got a job working as a barman. At these sporting events, which was a great job. My sister hooked me up this job. I started traveling around Australia, doing these sporting events, running bars, and which is one of the things they don't suggest you do when you get clean, by the way. But I thought, fuck it, I can do anything, you know. And anyway, and I started working long hours, 18-hour days, 17-hour days. I'd always get myself to a meeting bar. 12-step fellowship meeting, and after working like that for a couple of years, I thought, fuck, this is too hard for me, you know. And I started studying, so I went and did some what we call community services course. Then I did a diploma in that, and then I went on to uni. And the lady that ran the rehab that I went through, she said to me when I started studying, she said, "You'll never work here," you know, because I was real shifty in my early days. And sure enough, I got a phone call when I was about 2.5 years clean. Said, "Danny, do you want to come and work here? You know, do you want to do a shift?" And so and I stayed there for the next 10 years. Built myself an incredible life, you know, working there. I started working with, people just like me, people I knew from jail.
Wow.
It was funded by Corrective Services. It was funded by the jail system, part of it. So real high risk offenders too, you know. There's a rehab I went through, but yeah, I did. I worked there for 10 years.
What? Tell us just quick. I know it's not your story to tell. Tell us about the helicopter.
Thank God.
The helicopter escape. Because I was tripping whenever you told me that a few days ago. I was like, what the
So
fuck?
you should get him on your podcast. I've got a podcast and I interviewed John on the podcast. I can't say too much, but when I say I can't say too much, I couldn't tell the story. But literally, his missus, bless her, she's the one that hijacked the helicopter, Lucy Lou.
She stole it.
She hijacked the helicopter
For him to escape.
Well, she didn't fly it. She
she hijacked the pilot, put a gun to his
gunpoint.
side, and said,
Shut up.
So fuck, I can tell this story. John's my mate, right? So they've scoped it out, and they've even gone on a test flight some other area. I don't know how the story goes exactly. And then that day, it's very calculated. That day we're going here with a gun to his side. Like I think it's like a machine gun, some kind of. And anyway, she made him land in the middle of the oval where John just happened to be out that day, intentionally, of course.
Inside of the prison.
Inside the prison, yeah.
Holy
shots
shit.
were fired at the helicopter.
I bet.
And he got away. They got away. It was like
That's some crazy
He's
shit.
like infant. That is fucking.
That's
and
iconic.
And the
I'm
missus,
not
what
gonna
a-
lie.
What a mad
Yeah.
chick to fucking hijack the helicopter.
Yeah, no kidding.
She's wild. They are wild.
Yeah,
But
that's
John isn't.
Is he still with her?
Nah.
Oh, that would make it
After
even
that,
better.
after all that.
shit.
Oh no.
God damn.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he writes books now. He's an absolute legend. Yeah, he's getting on, old John.
Right.
But yeah, look, this working in this industry and being connected with people like Hunter and you, Rachel, and RJ, like I get these amazing opportunities to know incredible people from around the world. You know?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's the fucking coolest.
So what do you do now?
I'm the founder of a video journaling app that allows individuals to record and document their hopes, their dreams, their fears, and their future aspirations. So we provide a safe, confidential space for you to express yourself without any fear of judgment, using our on-screen prompt questions to guide you on a journey of personal development.
Yeah.
And
And what's it
discovery.
called again?
Encapsulator.
Encapsulator.
Encapsulator. Basically, look, the trip I did to America in 2017, where I travelled all those states, I met all these incredible entrepreneurs. You know, everyone's on the hustle here. You know, I can't believe I'm saying here, like I'm here now. It's like I don't even realise I'm here.
Yeah.
You know?
Crazy time to be here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these NA meetings that I was going to, I was meeting all these people hustling on doing something like clean. They're living their life, and I thought, you guys are mad. And I thought, when I come back, I'm going to do something. So that was my hustle. I started recording videos. I started capturing clients in the service I work for. Had about 200 people record a video to their future self. And what happened was every single person that recorded that video and answered our questions would walk out of the room. It was just with an old video camera then. And they'd say, Danny, that was amazing, you know. And then I'd be able to give them those videos 2-3 years down the track.
That's
And they'd be able to look back and see how far they'd come, you know.
Yeah.
Because clients so often in rehab, they go, Danny, when's things going to get better? Like nothing's changed. And as a worker, you'd see so much change in them. You know?
Yeah.
We don't see it when we're stuck in it. Now I've developed it into a mobile app and web platform with 30 plus expert design programs. And each program is focused on a different area of life in particular. And each program has a different series of activities and questions that will take you on this journey. So I do that, mate. I also run online groups 3 or 4 days a week. I have clients all over Australia that join my life skill development workshops. I teach about 30 plus different topics. And basically the feedback I receive from that is that people feel really supported. You know, they get to come together. Because I'm really fortunate at being part of the 12-step fellowship. Like I've built this incredible community of people from everywhere. I'm very well connected, you know, but people out there who are just entering recovery, they're scared, they're nervous, they don't have anyone to speak to. Nobody understands them. Well, I've been there. I've done that. I can understand. So we provide a safe place for people to come together and learn the tools that I've learned so freely given to me.
That's incredible.
And other things. I do social media and a bunch of other things too, you know.
He does everything, a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hustling.
Yeah.
I learned
Yeah.
from you guys.
And being
yeah?
a ray of sunshine.
Yeah. And I haven't worked for anybody else. Thank you. Ray of sunshine. Yeah, I smile. I love my life. I love my work. I smile way too much, and it's my job as a man in recovery and just a human being to get out here and share my messages of love and hope to anyone out there struggling. I think people just need, like people stuck in addiction or in the early days of recovery just need to be heard, you know. Family members often reach out to me, as you guys know. I feel like the true victims of addiction are the loved ones these days, you know.
Yeah.
Even at my lowest of low, living homeless under the bridge in Woolloomooloo, which is just outside of King's Cross, you know, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, haven't had a shower for 2 weeks, haven't brushed my teeth, for 5 days. I haven't eaten. I always had hope that I was going to get on, and I would. You could guarantee it didn't matter how fucking low I was going to get high, But what about my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my son, my daughter? Like, they're the true victims of addiction, and it's horrible. And today I truly think, I can't go a day without supporting someone in addiction, but I would much... My passion's trying to help the families,
Yeah. What's your relationship like with your mom and your sister today?
With my mum, it's pretty good. She for years, she thought if she didn't get a phone call from me that I was using again, 5 years, I reckon. It took
it's like that PTSD trauma response,
sure. But I've got really good relationships with my mum, my sister, my daughter, my son, my daughter's mum. Life's pretty...
The promises.
Incredible, the gifts, the true gifts of recovery.
Where all have you traveled to in sobriety?
I've been around the world. I bought a house. I'm the first person in my family to buy a house, right? I'll give you some of the gifts, like I'm the first person in my family to buy a house. And I worked my ass off for that too, I remember I was maybe 3 years clean. I'm 15 years, 4 months now, right? I was 3 years clean and I had a bank balance of 20K. I was thinking, where am I going to travel to next? And I thought, fuck, I could maybe buy a house, And I did a bit of research on people who have bought houses, and I thought, so I became addicted to saving money, Anyway, so I bought a house. I've traveled America, Asia, Europe, and every single place I've been. I know we haven't spoken much about the 12-step fellowship. I've always done meetings, I truly believe that, today I support people from all kinds of recovery, and I love hearing how other people recover too. For me, I'm total abstinence. I haven't had a drink or a drug for a long fucking time, and I hate the idea. I can't imagine for me picking up another drink or a drug. I hope to God that I don't, and I don't ever say I won't ever, because I think the minute I say that, the minute I think I've got it, I just lost it,
Yeah, right.
So, man, traveled the world, live a life beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest part of recovery?
People often ask me that question, and I've got to say, and I know lots of people with maybe similar sobriety who aren't as happy as me. I think, and who am I to say this, but I think people miss a lot of, I've had a really cool trip, man. I've had lots of ups and downs. I've had, some of the most hardest times, of course, in my life. I've lost probably 100 people dead to, addiction since I've been sober. Literally, there's people in my favorites list on my phone that I'll never remove who are no longer with us, But the hardest thing in recovery, probably relationships, man, I'm single at fucking 15 years clean up. I've nailed everything in life except for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that.
I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. But the hardest thing, honestly, is my daughter's mum. Thank God, I just found out yesterday that she's been allowed back in rehab. But my hardest thing is seeing my daughter suffer, Not even her suffer. Her mum overdosed. I revived her. Mum would be fucking dead if I hadn't walked in at one point, I'd give her CPR when she was blue. And I one freaky part about that is I couldn't find my glasses. I'm blind without my glasses, right? And I'm in her apartment. I don't know where her apartment is exactly. I don't know the address. I ring the paramedics. They're telling me what to do. And I remember yelling at the paramedics because it's when it's a loved one, I've saved people's lives before, but when it's a loved one like that, like your daughter's mum, it's a whole nother ball game, And they're telling me what to do. And I can't, and then they're saying, what's the address? And I don't know the fucking address. She's unconscious. She's fucking blue. I can't find my glasses. I'm trying to open the maps. And I remember stressing at the paramedics, like yelling at them, you know, which they probably cop that all the time. But that's the hardest thing, man. Yeah, to not be able to fix her or not be able to make her stop and be so fucking angry at her. I hate her, but I love her too. You know, it's a really fucked up thing to go through, and like she's not even. Yeah, like imagine your son or your daughter. Well, it's the same thing, I guess.
I think being on the other side of it also is like extremely. I went through very similar with my children's dad for years. He's sober now, thank God. But like, it's really fucking tough. And then also to be in the other shoes of like feeling that and feeling what our families felt and feeling what the people around us felt and that feeling of like, why can't you just I was in recovery dealing with all this, and I'm still like that mindset of like, why can't you just fucking stop, you know? Like it's really different being on the other side.
And we learn to be compassionate towards addicts now, but when it's a loved one, it's like,
it's
you
hard.
fucking stop.
It's still hard. It's like, fucking stop. Like, get it together,
it's
you
like,
know?
It's too complete. And I remember her saying, oh, you forget where you come from. Like, fuck you. You know? Like, it's not about forgetting where you come from. When it's a loved one like that, it's
hard. It does. Yeah, it really.
So yeah, that's definitely probably my hardest thing, you know. And my boy, man, like trying to have my boy not forgive me, but to be able to, you know, the relationship I lost. You know, he spent half of his life visiting me in jail. You know,
Right.
Now I wish I had like the relationship I have, you know, with my daughter, with my boy. You know.
Right.
I think in time, you know, and
oh, it's good. Like it's pretty good, but
But you feel guilty about it.
yeah, I do feel guilty
Yeah.
about it. I feel guilty about it. It's shit. It's so unfair. But really, like he's blessed. He's got, you know, a dad who. But his friends send me videos of me, and like these friends all know me from social media, and they said, so he's so super proud of me, but he kind of won't tell me that. He does indirectly, but I know he feels.
he can't
good.
let you know that you're cool. You know,
I know that he feels good to know that his dad's helping people these days, but he missed out on that.
But I remember a viral video of yours, and it had to do with your son and him walking off and saying "love you." Were you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Explain that video.
Yeah, he I was at soccer practice with him, and I'd gone and watched him play soccer, and as he was walking away, he said, "I love you, Dad," you know. And there was a lady sitting in the car beside me, and she goes, "Is that your son?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Did he just say I love you, you know, in front of his friends?" I said, "Yeah." And that's how I've taught him to do that, you know. And she couldn't believe it. She's like, "Fuck, what? My boy would never do that." And that's what I know, you know, because of recovery. Like recovery's given me this incredible gift, and I tell him I love him, and he's comfortable to say that in front of me. So yeah, that video you're talking about, I spoke about that, you know, and people sort of really resonated with that, I guess, because to him to say I love him in front of his friends is nothing, you know.
Yeah. That was a good video.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I get a bit emotional because like all this stuff is the stuff that I'm.
It's huge, man. These are the miracles. Yeah. But these are the miracles, right? This is the stuff. It's just, you know.
Yeah, it's the true gifts, you know. It's the stuff. Today, like gratitude. It's gratitude. It's got nothing to do with sadness. I'm not crying because I'm sad.
No.
I'm crying because I'm happy.
Yeah. These are the moments, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? These are the moments.
Yeah.
Can't predict, can't manufacture, you can't make it. You know what I mean? It's just
family fucks me up, man. Makes me sad, you know. Not sad, makes me cry, but you know?
Yeah.
And seeing beautiful things, you know, in recovery too.
Yeah.
It's
incredible.
It's funny.
What's the culture like in Australia around drugs? Is there a lot of stigma? Is there not? Is it like comparable to the US? Like what does that look like?
Just on that, like I think Australia is the best country in the world. You know? Like,
personally, I spent almost a year in Australia and I loved it.
Oh, good.
Same.
I was 18.
I love Australia.
It's like it's the
coolest people, man.
It's like thank you. I agree. Like and I want to always represent that. I love America as well, but the culture
from a distance.
No, I want to be here. Like I see myself. I've actually got this big wall mural behind my work at home, and it's got New York painted on the wall, and it's got 2027, and it says dream big underneath, because in 2027 I'm going to have my office in Manhattan overlooking New York.
Yeah.
And my Encapsulator office.
Yeah.
So, and then it's got a big flag of Australia up there as well. But anyway, the culture of Australia, man, I guess because I've lived there the whole time, I think it's... I don't really know. Like what do people think about drugs, do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like there's obviously a lot of drugs in Australia, right? It's like a major,
tiny
first
compared
world
to
country.
here, but, you know?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. But you got a major city. You've got, King's Cross.
There's
you go
a lot
down.
of meth
I mean, there's
and heroin and
Yeah.
more so than other countries.
I feel like a lot of European countries can be very like kind of closed off or judgmental, or like if a kid's struggling, they don't want to talk about it. Like, no, not us.
Yeah.
That's very much how it is in the UK. Like, you don't admit that you've got a problem in the UK. Period.
Yeah, look, I think we're catching up with the times, you know.
Yeah.
I personally would always say to people, and I can get in trouble for saying this, but I think there's lots of service, there's lots of help available for everyone. But that's just because I'm so, I've seen all the services available. A lot of people don't know what's available, you know?
Right,
So what that means then is that there's a lot of people struggling in poverty, and in rural areas, like in the country, in the bush, there is definitely a lack of services, you know.
Right,
but when I say there's always help, like, get out of the fucking country, come to the city, come get help, you know. Yeah. Whenever somebody reaches out to me on social media, my answer is always exactly the same, you know. I recommend you get to detox, rehab, and then some 12-step fellowship stuff. And all right, if you're stuck in the bush, fucking get on a bus and come to the city. Now, you have to jump through heaps of hoops. You need to start ringing places, you know, for weeks, sometimes Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I tell them ring every day. Pester them. I know working in rehab, the more you fucking ring, the bigger chance you got of getting in, because we're going, this guy's keen over old mate who's fucking missed phone calls, you know.
Right.
But then there's things like family, you know, you got your kids, you got your missus, you got your mum that you're looking after. There's a whole bunch of things like that. But I reckon there's lots of help in Australia. And I know I kind of get people go, oh, there isn't. And maybe for some people there isn't. But for me, I've always been surrounded by services.
There is. It just comes down to your willingness. You know what I mean?
Well,
like you said. Like, you got to be willing to go after it, for sure. I think you guys have one of the best healthcare systems in the world.
Yeah,
overall.
But he's Sweden. Is it? Sweden's got the mad one, is it?
I think I've heard a lot of. I've
maybe
heard a lot.
Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Sweden is not great.
Switzerland.
Neither's Norway. Given it's free, you know, quote unquote. Their taxes are like 50%, but yeah, it's not great. I've dealt with families in those areas, but Switzerland is like...
Yeah, sorry, Switzerland's the one. Yeah. But yeah, like, second to them, I reckon we've got the best.
You guys know it's great.
But people always whinge, man. People say there's no this, it's shit this, it's shit that. But I personally, like I said, Australia's the best country in the world, man. I say that because I think I've been hooked up so well. Everyone I know who I've supported through a journey has been hooked up so well. You just got to know where to look, you know?
Right. I remember when I was out there, I think it was like 2006, 2007.
Wow.
And there was a big like problem with Aboriginals and drinking. And like, it was like, is that still like a huge
of course,
crisis?
Definitely. Well, look, where were you?
So I started in Sydney, and then I ended up all the way up in Cairns.
Yeah.
I was up in
I think
Cairns for a while.
definitely up in Cairns is bigger.
Yeah, they were everywhere. I mean, it was like drinking boxed wine.
I laugh because it's like that everywhere as well. But the First Nations people definitely get a bad rap, and they probably have less access to services because they're in rural areas, you know?
Right.
And I hear some horrible abuse stuff that goes on. You know?
That's what I would imagine. I mean, it seemed just crazy to me. Like, I remember my mind was blown. I mean, I was 18, 19. People were like, no, these people, I mean, they were like coming from the jungles and coming to the city.
I work with a couple of people who support First Nations people. And I've been really fortunate.
Is that what they're for First Nation? Is that the politically correct?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Indigenous.
Okay. So they're not. It's not Aboriginals anymore.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's okay to say Aboriginal too. But
it just means like native.
Yeah.
Right?
Does it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Aborigines.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah.
But so two of my best mates are Koori, which is, I think it's like the New South Wales Aboriginal. They all come from different I don't want to say the language because it is actually one of those things I've got to culturally be very respectful.
Yeah, sensitive. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Which is okay, but yeah. Anyway, two of my best mates are both Aboriginal too, and I've worked in remote Aboriginal communities, like in the middle of the fucking the bush. I got taken out with one of my mates there into these yarning circles where I cooked. There's this tradition where they cook kangaroo tail, and you eat it. But to do so, you need to be accepted into their circle, which is really.
You gotta be
a
real
white fella
special.
doesn't get into the circle, and I got I to be honest, fucking eating brew tail was the last thing on earth I wanted to fucking do. But if you get called into the circle and they give you fucking brew tail, you better fucking eat.
Yeah.
And I did.
What it tastes like?
It's just like
fat,
tough. It's like
just fat, just
Oh,
like
God.
gristle.
yeah, it's real tough, right?
Oh, have you had it?
I've had root tail, and then
good
root
on
burgers, and a bunch of.
Yeah, I don't know.
How did you get into that though? That's I've always been so fascinated by sort of like the native people of different countries.
So
and
my
how,
mate Lucas, he's like his work is like best practice in Australia, and he does these things called yarning circles where it's he's an Indigenous man himself, and he's been through a whole heap of trauma, jail, or lived experience, and he now has a company that. Or an agency that supports basically people talking and recovering trauma-informed stuff. So the way I got into it was literally probably through social media. It was again.
Yeah.
He said, "Come with me, Danny. We'll take you up north and we'll go into this remote community called Santa Teresa."
Wow.
And I literally, bro, we drove 3 hours bush like it's just fucking desert.
Yeah.
And those communities, there's no bottle shops. They're gated. I think you call them gated communities. So they're not allowed access to alcohol. You're not allowed to have alcohol in those communities. Full on.
Yeah, I mean, there's full communities in Australia that they don't communicate with like the first world.
No, yeah,
I mean, they're totally primitive.
Yeah. And there's this thing. I think they call them white man dreaming. So all the government have drive these white Toyota Hiluxes, right? And they're like. They call them like, I think the white dreamers or something, the Aboriginal people do, because these government people come in there with all the money and they tell them what to do somewhat. And they're maybe not hated, but it's like them against us.
Right,
Yeah.
Really, man, I don't know much about this stuff. I can't really talk to it so much, but I know that really had an impact because it's like, the white dreamers or something, because they got these nice, beautiful white Hiluxes. And, it's a weird subject.
Yeah, they just want to do their own thing.
Yeah. They're like untouched civilizations.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Australia is such an incredible country. I mean, it's got so much there diversity-wise. I mean, it's like wild. It's a really cool place.
Yeah.
Have you been to Tasmania?
Yeah, what makes you ask that part?
I was just that's part of Australia, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I have in that job that I worked at, I went to the V8 supercars, so that I travelled all around Australia following these racing cars. So Tasmania's beautiful. I remember fishing for trout in Tasmania. But yeah, been in every state in Australia. I'd love to get like an RV. Kind of love to. I say kind of because I'd have to take my kid, and I'd want to take my kid. But imagine living with your kid in an RV for. I'm just picturing how that, and maybe her mum too. But I'd love to travel in a camper van around Australia. After this, actually, I'm going to go drive to Arizona. I've got an SUV. Like I'm going to sleep in the boot. I'm going to sleep in the back. I'm going to go road tripping after this podcast. Actually, I'm going to go just go wandering for 1 or 2 days.
I told him to drive to Havasu.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you say I've got that in the GPS.
Yeah.
Wherever I go, it will light me up. I know that. You know, when I'm alone, I'm a different person. Like, just by the way, I'm a real introverted person. Although social media, I do this extroverted shit, but really, I love my own company. I love only because of recovery.
I'm like an extroverted introvert.
Yeah,
you know,
me too. Yeah, I imagine we are the same because, like, people do my head in too. I love to be alone as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna go bush. Gonna go either bush or I'm gonna go desert or.
I guess that would be the bush.
I was asking Hunter, is it like that's where they bury the bodies out there, don't they?
There's probably some bodies out there.
So yeah, and look, I'll be cool to call my daughter. So I've been FaceTiming her every day. Mm-hmm. Be cool to show her some stuff too.
Yeah.
So you were talking about how you kind of teach some courses about what is that?
My life skill development workshops. So I've got a 270 Encapsulator. This right here on the back of my shirt is Encapsulator support. That's my agency that I own, that me and a couple of other people run. So we teach I teach these online courses Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. We have maybe 6 to 8 individuals that log on, and I choose a subject for the day from my workbook. It's a 270-page workbook with 30 plus topics. And you
put that together?
Yeah, we did. Wow. Yeah. And each day I'll teach a different subject.
Got it.
From life skills to budgeting to trauma to anger management to anxiety, different topics like that. And
that's awesome.
Got it.
Yeah.
And that's for anybody? Anyone
can join for sure. So I've got 2 things I do. I've got Dad's Hour of Power every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m, where anyone from my social media can subscribe. It's cheap as chips. It's like $50 a month. And they can come and join me. So I've got clients in the UK. America doesn't work. 7:30 p.m. for me is like the middle of the morning for you guys. I think it's like 5:30 a.m. or something. But so anyway, people can just support me and come connect with me directly by jumping on our workshops. And then 11 a.m. weekdays, I run our NDIS, which is a government disability funding in Australia, where you can just sign up for our workshops as well. But, people who have been doing, I've got clients in my workshops who are 2 and 3 years sober now who don't do 12-step fellowship not because of me, but they say because of my classes that they've managed to stay sober. It's bullshit. Wow. It's absolutely incredible. I don't say that out loud often, but because I don't want to ever try and suggest that. But all you need to get clean and sober, I think if you've got somebody who can support you along the way, if you can listen to them and let them be heard, if you can give them some attention and say, I'll give a shout out to Jen and to Jordan, those 2 girls, just giving them some attention, saying, yeah, you're right, validating what they're feeling. Mate, I just want people to walk away feeling good about themselves, learn 1 tool from each lesson, that they can take out there and use in their daily life. And we've got 3 or 4 people who have been sober for years. I've been doing it for 3 years now, so it's crazy.
Awesome. Yeah.
I know, it's crazy.
That's cool.
I just learned this shit in recovery too. I've been to uni and all that, but that's all bullshit, I reckon. Like, I'm not saying it's bullshit, but my lived experience is more powerful than some of that stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it is
love
cool.
That.
It is really cool. I'm blessed to have that. My app is definitely, it's my dream. It's my big dream is to give people a tool available in the palm of the hand 24/7 to be able to record and document where they're at today. Mm-hmm. And I believe when we start talking about our dreams, our fears out loud, we're breaking down the barriers. So if we can provide a safe place for you to start talking about your trauma, the shit that's happened, you've said it out loud once to yourself, it takes away a lot of the impact from you. A problem shared is a problem halved, and then it increases the chances of them seeking the help that they need when they're ready as well.
Right.
But yeah, just I'm doing lots of things, doing lots of things.
How long have we been going?
Hour 23. Wow.
Do you want to ask your question?
Oh, yeah. Are you happy today?
I said, oh, shit. That's a sign from
Let
God.
let me ask again.
Look,
Let
it
me
says
ask
ring
again.
parole.
Shit.
That's a note for one of my clients for me to make sure he rings parole.
Look, yeah. Are you happy today?
Yeah. I am. Well, when you see me cry, they're tears of gratitude. They truly are tears of gratitude. I was an angry, lonely individual when I entered recovery. I had no idea what life had on offer. I had no idea what love was for sure. I used to see people holding hands in the street. I used to just think, fuck off, get a room or something. I hated the word love. People hugging me, I hated that as well. Today I truly live this incredible life beyond my wildest dreams. I wake up feeling good, I love my life. I love my work. I smile way too much, and it's my job to help make other people happy. I think, to answer your question, I'm very happy. People always say to me, "Daddy, you can't actually be so happy. You smile too much." But it's I don't know. Maybe it's not always authentic, but I feel happy, bro.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's great.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to say? Do you have any advice for people that follow you that are maybe struggling with addiction?
Yeah, I tell everyone to go to detox, to rehab, to Narcotics Anonymous. That was my perfect solution. So I understand that, today's day and age, there's all these other different modalities today too. I know people are allowed to smoke pot these days and all that. But for me, the only way for me to be happy was total abstinence. I've tried hypnosis, I've tried religion, I've tried naltrexone implants, I've tried meditation. I finally, when I realized that the drugs didn't work, that was my way. But I would say never give up. Dream big, dream big, never give up, because one day I made a different decision. I stopped using the substances, and here I am, 15 years, 3 months, and 20 days later, living the dream. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, never give up.
Yeah.
Never back down. Never what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a crucial
Thank
thing,
you
though.
so much to you guys
Thanks
too.
for coming out.
It's
Across the world.
It's amazing for me to be here,
Yeah.
with you and you guys.
Glad this
Like,
worked
it
out.
lights me up, man. It's like I literally traveled to America for your podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Like, hunted. That's why I'm here, because I could come do this.
Thanks so much.
Have you had international guests? You would have. If you.
Have we?
No, I think you were our first, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
RJ and I filmed in a different country.
Yeah.
Before this was what it is.
Yeah.
We filmed in England. So, but no.
Our first Aussie besides myself,
It's great. It's so great. I think we've been doing, how long have we been doing this? 9 months?
something like that.
8, 9 months?
It's a baby.
6 months.
And it's like, we've just heard stories from all over the country, and now, other parts
Now
of
across the world.
On that note too, I think being a host of a podcast too, and all the work that we do, it's I just want to acknowledge, it's hard work what we do too. What you guys do too, having to listen to somebody talk and be engaging and be a part of and bring out the best in people's stories. I just want to say, I think you guys are doing an incredible job too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's important to acknowledge that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for saying that.
Thanks for
You're
showing
welcome.
up
No
to do
worries,
it.
brother.
You know what I mean? I think it's like, if there's one thing I really think about after doing this and hearing so many stories, it's like, no matter where you are, where you are in the world, you know what I mean? Recovery, addiction, and then the recovery process seems to always look the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
it's
stories are
incredible, yes.
very,
Yes.
they have different flavors and maybe a
Yes.
little bit of a different personality, right? But the stories are the same, right? And there's so much about that message that you said about not giving up. You know what I mean?
It's
and just
all
keep
the same,
going.
RJ,
Dream
you're
big
right.
and don't give up.
It really is. Like everyone, we all come from the same shit. The feelings are all the same or similar. Like we relate to it. And I love that we can laugh at each other's trauma. Like, because I've been there
it's
too.
my favorite. Yeah.
It's like a really incredibly unique part about recovery that the bond that we've got together, you know?
Yeah.
For sure.
The human experience, man. We're not too far apart.
No.
Yeah. Cool, man. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks so
thanks,
much.
man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.